we have with us Dr. Aman Bhonsle, who is going to be joining us about some of the youth challenges and kind of help us understand what the youth is facing today and how we can kind of really get the youth the help that they need. So SafeSpace recently did a study with 219 youth, and we found some really alarming numbers and some really alarming feedback, which we will share with you along the course of this live and expert talk today. And here with us we have Dr. Aman Bhonsle. Aman, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, Nyana.
Super. Is it okay if I call you Aman, or would it be Dr. Aman
Sure,
Bhonsle?
you can call me Aman, as long as you don't call me Lazy Susan. You just call me by my name, it's fine, right? Good.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure.
And you are the person that we speak to for more youth-related concerns to do with mental health, and that seems to be your area of expertise, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was reading, and I'm going to just dive right in because I'm so excited to talk to you today. You have, I saw all your work, and it's more related to relationships and telling the youth about feeling comfortable in their own skin and kind of, like you said, getting over the fog of what you called past trauma. I read, on your own website about how you talked about how you have been through some of these challenges of bullying and things like that in your younger days.
Yep.
And therefore, I think nobody could understand this conversation to bring even personal experience to the table. So, Dr. Raman, can you just tell us about, just the current struggles of the youth and what are we seeing in the world today, in India specifically, of course?
Well, in my opinion, the topic struggles of the youth could be a 4-hour conversation. But I think the largest problem that I'm seeing is there is a unwillingness to suffer for what they want.
Mm-hmm.
The youth, by and large, those who have been, you know, living always with the internet or with the conveniences of modern technology, they've always had things given to them, arranged for them, or easily accessible. And those of us who do remember a life without the internet have had to actually wait for stuff, suffer for stuff. There was this thing my art teacher used to say. He said that you have to suffer for your art.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a giveaway. You can't inherit talent. You cannot inherit respect. You got to work your butt off to really get some things. But this is something I see a lot of the youth sometimes struggles with. I wouldn't say all of them are like that, but there's this tendency to feel entitled that, oh, because I exist, I'm important and I'm valuable, which is fine as something philosophical, really, that, oh yes, every human being is valuable, every human being has a purpose on this planet. But really, if you want to be respected, if you really want to be taken seriously, what are you willing to put in to prove your mettle? This is a concept I see a lot of the young people struggle with. They want things handed to them. And of course, there's the other side of it that, yes, the adults don't give them the freedom to do things on their own. And, sometimes I think goofing up and making mistakes is a rite of passage for anyone trying to figure their way through adulthood, really, uh, figure out who they are as a person, what's important to them, what they want to work towards, what are their goals. And along that journey, there will be so many mistakes and interruptions and distractions and U-turns you have to take and say, all right, I got to go back to the drawing board. And the adults don't let the children navigate through that process, that unfamiliar terrain, saying, no, I have to have the best of. That's that to me is also a concern, because I think adversity is one of the many ways in which life tests us and challenges us. And if you're not going to accept challenges, then how are you going to circumvent those challenges, really? It's not so much about the avoidance of obstacles. It's about meeting those obstacles with a clear focus so you can do what you want to do, learn what you want to learn, be who you want to be. So there are several problems, and I'm sure you'll get specific as well, Nyana, because I'm sure you have some other questions as well. So we'll probably jump in as well into more specific areas of control and concern. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we are seeing definitely an increase in mental health concerns with our youth, and I'm probably of the philosophy that yes, there is a certain ease that comes with technology, but also with that comes a whole different um, era where bullying is more public, shaming is more public. And these are things that have become really hard for youth to deal with. And how does that contribute? Things like bullying, public shaming, you know, um, calling kids out, their things on Facebook, messages being spread around, which has a fundamental impact of shame and humiliation for youth. And that kind of really has a very, very toxic impact, right? So how do youth kind of, deal with situations like this? I mean, these are things that, yes, that's right. We didn't, we waited and we suffered, but we had a different kind of an ease where these things weren't a thing that we had to worry about, right? It's become more rampant today. So how should or how can the youth deal with this kind of access to information that is so easy, but also at the cost of one's own, feeling left out when you see other friends, or when people put pictures up of you and things like that and call you out, and it's a different ball game altogether. And that my heart goes out really. It's a thing that really is a struggle for the youth today. What are your do you see that kind of stuff coming to you, Dr. And how can they deal with it? Because I know a lot of kids don't talk about it, and puts them into a lot of anxiety and depression.
So here's the thing, Nyana. Very often, these all tie back to a child's sense of self-esteem. So whether they're being trolled online, or whether they're being shamed on a private WhatsApp group, or whether their friends are creating memes of them and circulating it and discrediting them and cracking jokes at their expense, is something new. That's something that even I've been hearing, that someone's photo was taken and it was turned into a meme and circulated on the school group. They're being trolled for how poorly they play a certain game, vis-a-vis Fortnite or any such online game. And you suck, you're a shitty player, etc. Or as you said, the fear of missing out. You see other people living the life, the it life, being invited to the nice parties, wearing the nice outfits, and then suddenly you miss out. So I suppose these challenges existed even in our time before social media, but now, as you said correctly, there's a certain public visibility to it. But having said that, I do believe public perception is exactly as it used to be. Very transient, a very fickle thing. So today you're the hot topic. It's kind of like that notorious show Big Boss. On one day they say, "Oh, this person got eliminated." 1 week later, someone else gets eliminated. The show must go on. So the idea is you want to really strengthen the core of these children. And I know it's easier said than done. Some people may say it even sounds pretentious. What the hell do you mean strengthen their core? What I mean, what I mean is you need to teach these children how to learn to live with themselves. So, how do you learn to be focused about what you want? How do you learn to be respectful of yourself? How can you, as a child, disagree with your family but still be very dignified and very clear about it? So that this helps them also realize that they're not just cheap knockoffs of their family name, or of their parents, because a lot of people, a lot of mothers and fathers get very upset. Oh, look at him, he's not anything like us. Look at her, she hasn't turned out like anyone in the family. Of course she hasn't. Of course he hasn't. He's not a cheap knockoff, all right? He's not a clone. He's his own person. So the idea is you have to teach children about who they are, but we have them distracted by so many things. Just last night I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said that children are put in so many classes. He's got his tennis classes, his piano lessons, his maths tuitions, his and he has a school homework. So we put them through boot camp, but we very seldom spend time with them, talking to them about things like, what's your vision for your life? Or what are you really passionate about? Or what's the one thing you could do for free if you were not paid, but you could do it all day, every day? Or what do you think defines you as a person? Or what do you think is something that you think you can do better than both of us for your parents? No one ask them these things, Nyana. And these are the most important things, because these are what shape character and shape their personalities. Instead, they are constantly told, oh, you need to do this, or don't talk to this person, or don't wear this, or don't eat this, or don't go here. Don't put them only through the boot camp of life. Let them also experience life as individuals, as unique thinking individuals who have so much to contribute that maybe even you never knew they had inside them. So in order for them to discover their uniqueness, you got to really see them as human beings and not just as projects. There's a difference between owning a cat or dog and having a child. You can't just get them heel and throw a biscuit in its mouth. It's how you train a dog. That's not how you train a child. It's not
Yeah.
Pavlovian, in its approach. It's very nuanced. If you want a child to learn something or accept something, you got to slide it in. You can't beat them with a hammer on the head saying, no, this is wrong, or no, this is the only way to do it. This is how we do it in Marwadi households. Just relax, okay? The world is transient. No one cares about how things happen in your household, least of all the child. Okay? So it's important to accept the fact that times are changing, the challenges are mutating as well. And self esteem is very important, to connect the 2 points you made about FOMO and bullying. Very important to teach them how to learn to love and respect themselves. So sometimes you try approaching it with a child and say, today I'm going to have a 1 hour chat on how you should love and respect yourself. They'll say, give me a break, man. I have better shit to do. So you want to speak to them in a language they understand. You don't want to be like, today we will talk about the finer nuances of self-respect. You're going to be like, crap, old guys come again with this pravachan. I'd rather watch some Sadhguru on YouTube than listen to your shit. You have to say, you know what? Do you like being treated like shit? Do you like being shafted? Do you like being left in the lurch? Do you like it when girls think you're a fool? Do you like to being played for a fool? Yes or no? No? All right. I'm going to help you deal with it. So that's how you got to speak to them in their language. You got to understand their lingo. You say, you like biting the dust? Do you like being left in the lurch? Whatever expression. तुमको येड़ा बन के पेड़ा बनना पसंद है क्या? You can say in Hindi also, but they have to understand the language. And they'll say, नहीं यार अच्छा नहीं लगता यार, मेरे को तो बहुत गंदा लगता है, घर में इज्जत नहीं है. So you got to speak in the language they understand. You cannot go in with your I have a degree in this and that. I'm going to make your life wonderful, because they may not migrate towards that, even though it's for their own good. So my dad used to say this thing to me. You know my dad, right? Yeah, you trained with us at the Heart Counselling Centre.
Yes.
With Dr. Meenu, Dr. Rajan. You know my dad. So he used to tell me this thing. He said, when a child refuses to eat food, what does his mother do? She says, look, here comes the airplane. Look, it's coming. It's going to land at the airport. And then you'll feed the child, and the child also like, must tha. Cerelac. So you got to simplify it, turn it into a game, joke about it, say a few stupid things to lighten them up. It's called rapport building. You'll remember this, all right? It's a very basic skill that people learn when they're in the helping profession. If you want to be taken seriously by them, you got to treat them like you would treat an equal, like you treat a friend. Even though in your mind you know that you are probably the authority figure in the equation, but you cannot force them to accept you as an authority figure. Respect me because I was born before. God damn it! Look at these certificates I have. You can't be that way, because they're very smart as well. They're smarter than we used to be, because they have all this access. They'll be like, wait a minute, you're wrong. Here's Google telling me otherwise. So it's not as simple as it used to be. And I think talking to the youth is essentially about winning their trust, but also giving them something that gives them something to munch on. You don't do all the legwork for them like their parents would, all right? And let them, if they want to suffer, let them suffer. Happily let them suffer, because that makes them stronger. That teaches things about themselves that otherwise life, wouldn't have taught them. You understand?
You brought some really interesting, important points, and I had all these questions written down, so I'm just going to go instead with the flow, if that's okay with you.
All right.
So
Go ahead.
you said something really important here, and that is to treat the youth, as equals. That they do have their sense of what they like, don't like. They have a sense of, where I see my life going. I do have a sense of I may not want to do engineering. I want to do the arts. Just really big or small life decisions that we kind of take away that sense of agency and the rest of the life I'm doing something that I may not even enjoy. And when sometimes people come into sessions, the thing is, I don't even know what I'm doing or why
Yeah.
I'm doing it. Yeah. And all of this begins much earlier when you're trying to figure yourself out and things like that. And I mean, I think you today have so much more intelligence and, agency and things like that they ever had. However, parenting hasn't changed. Parenting is still, in my time, we used to do this, and in, Dadaji's time, he used to do that.
5 रुपए लेके आए थे गांव से.
Yeah,
Yeah, they'll say that, right?
yeah. I mean, my father, luckily, and I think I truly, he's no more, but I respected him because he treated me like an equal and an independent person, and he always said that, Nyana, go out, make your mistakes, you have to be responsible for them, and he said that, I'm not always there for you to fall back on and kind of, ask me questions, because no, you're going to have to start taking responsibility for the decisions that you make. Otherwise, you're going to turn around and, not be happy in your life. I'm
Absolutely.
there for you, if you want to ask me questions, but I need to be able to trust you enough for you to live your life and make your choices and decisions as you go along.
Yep.
And so this equation of, I know everything and I'm going to tell you how to live your life is still there in a lot of parenting, right? In India especially. How does that kind of clamp down the youth being a very important stage of building your sense of identity, which you said, he's not like you, he's a unique individual. How do you get that sense of uniqueness in the youth to really shine as parents, as society in general? We just, you know
Okay, here's a suggestion I have for all the parents who are watching, if they're watching. Involve your child in the various activities that require the house. Let them participate in errands. Send the kid to the bank, get him to clean dishes occasionally. Sometimes get him to mom in the kitchen as well. He or she has nothing to do with gender. Uh, because being an adult is I'd say it's a very gradual gradient that you got to master the art of being an adult. So I had this client come to me, Nyana, the other day. Said, "Can you tell me, doctor, what is being an adult all about?" I said, "You want the simple answer or the complicated answer?" He said, "Give me the simple one." I said, "Paying bills."
mm-hmm.
It's about paying bills. That's a big part of being an adult, and picking up after yourself. If you screw up or if you do something, reprehensible or silly, accepting the consequences that come with it, if that means a loss in reputation or a loss of a relationship or a loss of livelihood or losing a business deal or, losing a contract, then you gotta roll with the punches and accept it and cut your losses and try to do better. That's what adulthood is about. You can't go, Mama, Papa. You can't be that way. It'd be
Oh, we
ridiculous.
still do that in our
Yeah,
country,
exactly.
even too much later.
Interesting you say that. Interesting you say that because the fact is, parents are more. What's happening is the parents are more interested in making sure that their children don't have any obstacles to face, rather than preparing the child to deal with the obstacles. I said this a short while ago as well. Life is not about the avoidance of problems. It's about the dealing of problems, right? You got to manage that shit. You can't let that stuff, sort of inundate you because at different stages of your life the types of problems you will have will also change based on how old you are. So when you're in your 20s, it's more about finding your space and trying to make a name for yourself. In your 30s, it's all about consolidating whatever little money you've made and making those big investments. In your 40s, suddenly you realize your body is not what it used to be. Your hair starts turning white, and it's about creating enduring legacy. In your 50s, suddenly it's about what the next generation is on and all about, and how do we mentor them and coach them. In your 60s, you start thinking about God and death. So you see, the problems and the challenges change. Of course, I've given you a very generalized picture. So it's very important to teach children not to live their lives trying to worrying about the fact that there will be problems, because there will be problems. Whether you have money or don't have money, whether you're a man or woman or a chimpanzee, there will be problems. There have to be problems. That's what life's about. If there weren't problems, it wouldn't be life. Where's the drama and the masala without problems? So it's really about finding strategies that work for you. All right. They don't have, and as I keep telling this to the parents, don't make them weak. If they cry, let them cry. If they fall, let them fall. Guide them, mentor them. Don't manage them, okay? Don't micromanage them. Mentor them. All right, some parents are really, really bad at the mentoring process. Let's face it, they have not been mentored particularly well, nor have they learned how to do it. And then, in such cases, Nyana Sabharwal or Dr. Aman के ऐसे टॉप पे आओ, दो चार चीजें सीख के incorporate करिए. No one's a perfect parent, Yana. I don't think anyone is a perfect parent. I think parenting is largely winged by a lot of people. But yes,
Yeah,
there
you
are
take
certain,
it. Yeah.
isn't it? But there are certain guidelines that you can take from talks such as these, and then see how you want to make them your own. I don't tell people things like, there's no magic solution. There's no magic pill that you have this pill and suddenly you're a great parent. It doesn't work that way. Okay, it's very multifaceted. But most importantly, Nyana, listen to the kids. Listen to them. Even if they're bullshitting you, even if they're lying to you, that doesn't mean you should listen to them. Try to understand why they're lying to you, why they're hesitating to tell you about their innermost feelings. Like, why do so many children hesitate to tell their parents that they're dating? Why?
Because
It's really.
obviously, I mean, the biggest problem that I see in our parenting is this notion that the parents know best and they know right and they cannot be wrong.
That they're
And
infallible.
somewhere, yeah, that they're fallible, and that somewhere may know what's best for us. We want what's best for our children, but we may not know necessarily what their life's dreams and aspirations hold, and it may be different from what we imagine from what our children desire, and it's okay. It's their life, and they need to go out there and really truly live it. But there is this whole I think, imbalance of caregiving versus parenting. Caregiving is putting food on the table. I sent you to school. I put food on the table, that kind of stuff. But I didn't actually say, like you rightly said earlier, really sit down and understand who you are and what your desires are.
Yep.
And, what is it that you seek to do with your life, and what are your dreams and aspirations, and what are your fears. And a lot of our parenting is based on fear. If you don't go to school now, what will you grow up and do? Do you want to be just sitting in your house and not working and not getting a job, and you won't do this? Like, all of the life just becomes about job, marriage, after marriage. It's almost like that's why we're born versus recognizing, so much more about life, about the expression of self, and things like that, that we completely are missing out. And I think the youth are kind of, I'm speaking for them, want to express that or experience that, and I think that's somewhere also a gap that we're seeing between, the previous years and the youth today, who are just so phenomenally sort of got all this knowledge and expertise and doing internships and things that we never did growing up. And then one fine day we don't allow children to make decisions and things like that. Suddenly we're like, why are you not being an adult? Why are you not doing adult like things? And you're like, but who taught me to be an adult? Until yesterday you were packing my lunchbox to work, and now all of a sudden I'm this married person and I'm suddenly supposed to know adult responsibilities. So how do we help this transitioning better? How do we mentor better? How do we really treat this wonderful generation of youth in a more meaningful way?
Well, I think the first thing you need to do is trust the fact that they are thinking individuals, yeah, that they can change and that they can evolve and they can adapt to any situation. You suddenly die, they'll stop living. They'll probably have jobs, still get married, still have kids, find a way to live. So, for parents, the message is that don't overestimate the value you hold in your child's eyes. They will learn, they'll stumble along the way, but they will rise up again and again. Trust the resilience that may be endemic, I would say, to all species on this planet. It's about the survival instinct, if you really break it down. So, task your children and push them in areas and territories where they aren't exactly comfortable. Uh, the unfamiliar has a very strange way of you rise up to challenge. So, I remember I was talking to a friend of mine last week. That if I, whenever I have a child, if a child, I'll give him 1 or 2 years off from his academic. Give him a budget and say, just get out of here, leave the country, go work, scrape, scrounge, hitchhike, backpack, and just come a new person. Go to South America for 2 years, do volunteer work, but don't
Right.
be here. Leave your comfort zones. Leave the comfort of daddy's house. Leave the comfort of your this nowadays children have an entire range of staff attending to them. They have the staff of their tuition teachers, they have their shrink, they have their elocution coaches, they have their squash coaches, their swimming coaches, their piano teachers. So I said, leave all the staff and go and learn, and then you'll get staffed by life. You know what I mean? Dande padenge, bhai. Samjhe? So it's important to let them get bruised and let them learn, because that's how do you learn swimming, Nyana? Do you watch documentaries on swimming? Or do you have people who give you motivational talks about how swimming is good for your body? Or do you just kick them in the pool and say, now don't drown. Okay, here's a float so you don't die. But move your arms, kick your legs. That's exactly how you prepare them for adulthood, in my opinion. All right. You don't show them a documentary on how to become an adult. You don't give them an intervention on what are the benefits of being an adult. You tell them, all right, from now on you pay us rent. From now on you give you whatever money we give you, we want a small amount of it to go in an SIP where you can put money so you have, like how we have the PF, Provident Fund. Teach them how to save their money, teach them how to pay bills, teach them how to be accountable, give them responsibilities. Don't just say, koi nahi, daddy kar lenge. Koi baat nahi, mommy will cook it. Why? There are such few teenagers who cook their own dabbas. Although mother is always cooking for them. And then the mother says, oh no, I'm so overworked. Arre, ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा क्या होगा? He'll have cheese sandwiches 3 days a week. He'll have a shitty lunch 3 days a week. And maybe he'll feel motivated to learn how to make a simple dal. Maybe he can tell mom, you know what? 2 days a week, let me take over the kitchen, at least for my meals. I can make a simple macaroni, a simple spaghetti. I can do some prep at night. I can do a simple, omelette if I eat eggs. I can do a simple paneer bhurji. It's like an 8-10 minute process. Doesn't require any special talent. Doesn't
Yeah.
require you to go to culinary school. So give the child, outsource certain aspects of the child's life to him instead of trying to do everything for him, and watch him learn, watch him struggle, because that struggling is a beautiful thing, in my opinion. In fact, it's a rite of passage. All
Right.
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 So
So that brings me to teaching and learning a lot of things along the way. And I think emotional, uh, regulation, working through relationships,
yep.
the core things. Because if you're not really teaching and learning those things, you get into relationships, you get into marriage, you get into all of these things. Even, I mean, the youth, probably one of the biggest things is, what am I going to do in my future? I'm confused. I want to do this. Parents want me to do that. Relationships, are a big area where youth struggle. But all of these are almost life skills that you learn on how to negotiate your emotions. How do you negotiate through relationships? Developing, that mm, sense of comfort that I'm lovable and I'm enough, and that doesn't get in the way of me being in relationships, being too afraid to be in relationships, or just all of those sort of issues that come along with this this age group, but as well as just you know I can go and talk to my parents and say, hey, I'm having a tough time in this relationship. But like you rightly said, we can't talk to our parents about it. And so
Why
we did
not?
that.
Right? Why not? Why not? I mean,
I could
I
tell my
think you
dad stuff. I mean, I could
absolutely.
go and talk to my dad about any relationship, and he would give me real advice and say that, this is how you navigate it.
That's
Um,
lovely. That's great. That's great.
and I was, okay, this was 20, 25 years ago. But even today, I see that, if I ask a young youth, like, do you have a girlfriend or boyfriend? The parent responds saying, no, she doesn't. She's just she is very interested in actually becoming a doctor. And there
Yeah,
goes
that's the
that.
problem.
That conversation's done there. And I'm like, oh, sorry, maybe I said something incorrect, and conversation over. But how do we open up channels of conversation? Because we did this recent study.
Yeah.
Um, we released some of the responses that we got, and there was a large percentage of the population of the youth. We spoke to 219 students, and 23% said they felt depressed, 5% said they had thoughts of suicide, and that when they did go to speak to parents, one of the things they heard a lot is baad mein baat karenge, ya I'll talk to you later, or I'm just too afraid that I can't live up to your expectation, or I'm just lonely, and things like that. But we want what's best for our kids, but that passage of communication between a youth and their parents, and I know that over and over again we hear parents say, oh, it's so difficult. My daughter is now 13 and 14 and she want to go out, she want to do these things. And what is the way in which that
Well, we need to.
both the youth can navigate this as well as parents can, because we're we want to able to make this a healthy, safe space,
No, absolutely.
for our growing youth.
Well, for starters, I think the parents need to figure out how to, hone in then on their skills of being a parent, really, because a lot of people are confused with the idea of parenting. I do believe that parenting is a leadership position. It's a leadership position whereby you show the child through demonstration, through your own life, excellence. You show the child. You teach the child things like accountability. You teach the child things like adaptability. You teach the child something, about how to be assertive. Now, a lot of parents haven't figured this out in all their years. I always tell children who are guilty for, disappointing their parents that, you've been an adult for 3 years. Your parents have been adults for 30 years. And if they haven't figured it out in 30 years and you can't figure it out in 4 years, guess who's doing a shitty job of it? So I do place some of the responsibility on the parents as well. That if you, as a parent, are not rising up to the task of being a good mentor or a good leader, then that really reflects poorly on you, right? Because I assure you, most parents who had when they were having sex with their husbands and then they got pregnant, they were not thinking about mentoring. They were probably thinking about something else. All right. But before you get intimate with your partner, realize that your child is not a toy, that grows up on its own in the corner of the house. A large part of your role as a parent is leadership. And if you're a shit leader, then I don't think you should be a parent. Sorry about that. All right. Because if you can't lead by example, if you can't, because one of the I say this to people: a leader has two jobs, and only two jobs. The first job is the removal of obstacles so that his team can function well, and which is a largely the role that the parents play till the child is legally an adult. So till the child is 18, you remove obstacles. Okay, you pay for his fees, you make sure he's healthy, he's well fed. At the same time, you are preparing him for responsibilities he'll have to take on as an adult, right? The second job of a leader is to keep motivation high so that everyone's in a good mood, in a good space, in a safe space, all right? So they can, do what they need to do, at maximum efficacy, etc. So if you as a parent slash leader are not removing the obstacles till they're 18, or you're not making sure the morals are high, then there is somewhere that you are lacking. And a large part of keeping the morale high is giving a lot of faith and trust to your children. Is, despite the fact that they may make mistakes and stumble and make rookie errors. Um, but that's important for them. Those are like what I refer to as growing pains. So I think as parents, really, task them, task them, but also trust them and also talk to them. All right. Your child is not. See, if your child is making poor decisions, that actually largely reflects on you. That means the child hasn't learned how to make good decisions from you. So don't blame your child for making poor decisions. You've failed as a leader. In any company, in a corporate structure, let's forget about parents for a second. Corporate structure, if the team under delivers, guess who gets into trouble? It's always the leader saying, under your supervision, this team has failed to meet its targets. Similar situation with parents. Under your leadership, this child is a liar, a kleptomaniac, suicidal, depressed, and lazy, which is the biggest problem. So lazy. So what the hell have you been doing as a parent? Preparing all the solutions or teaching them how to circumvent it on their own? So I think parenting is something that has to be something that even the parents are interested in as a subject. Because I say even a dog or a squirrel can become a parent. But what separates us as an animal, as human beings, as we're also animals, right? But how are we different from the animals in the jungle? Because we mentor. You won't see a squirrel mentoring its child beyond a point. Jinda hai, bahut hai. Ab ja, find your own tree, find your own nuts or whatever it is. You know what
I
I
mean,
mean?
so I just want to just say hi to Rinku and Gertrude. Actually, really said that it's a question that we all struggle with, is how to build better communication between children and their parents. That bridge of equal, sort of opportunity and request and respect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because without that actual attunement to what is my child feeling or what is he going through,
Yeah,
so once.
here's the thing. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
Never ever sit and imagine what your child is going through. Just ask them the question. What's on your mind?
Absolutely, right?
How can I help you? How can I help you, buddy? Ask them. What's happening? Are you stressed? Are you worried? If you are, let me in and I'll help you to the best extent that I can, or I'll at least identify resources that can give you an objective view of things, because life is hard, life is unfair sometimes, and sometimes it's just downright savage and unforgiving. And we have been there, we've been your age, and it sucks, believe it or not, we know. So we're
Yeah.
here to help. Even if you think I can't do it, fair enough. I'll find someone who can give you the interventions, give you the insights you need. And that's where people like me come in. I come in as an arbitrator to sort of really help them see things objectively, to sort of really change how they look at things. So as a parent, if you are not the resource, you can identify the resource, and most importantly, let the lines of communication be open. All right, let it be like a hotline. Your child shouldn't hesitate to come to you because of your own prejudices and biases and archaic values and your own tempers and mood related issues.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel.
Yeah, because again, coming back to this study that we did, when,
Yeah.
we saw the kind of feedback that, 23% talked about depression, 5% talked about thoughts of suicide. There was, talk of past trauma and abuse. And when we asked who is the person you're going to speak to, I mean, when I close my eyes and imagine, I would say I would have wanted to go and speak to my parents about it. And most of them didn't put that down as their first person to go to,
Yeah, well, that's
that was because that's what ultimately children want, is to feel safe and secure, right? And that to have home as that safe and secure place, because the world is a scary place anyway.
oh
Uh,
yes.
Sorry?
I said, oh yes, scary,
Yeah.
unfair, unpleasant, and extremely
Unpleasant,
harsh.
absolutely. And so home becomes that safe space. But if I go home with all this information that, hey, I'm being bullied, or hey, I was inappropriately touched, or hey, I don't think I'm going to do well on this exam, and what I get back in return is this, oh, don't talk about it, or I don't have time, or what is wrong with you? You must have done something. You didn't study. You didn't do this. You had, there's so much. Or and I know that when there's harder traumas that they talked about, and there is this whole question of, listen, we don't need to talk about it, forget about it, that it ever happened. And those are excruciating responses for the youth to sort of navigate. And
Well,
the
sometimes,
impact.
just to interrupt, sometimes in my practice, it's very important for me to tell these young people that I think the time you consider your parent as a mentor has lapsed. You're an adult, so no longer do you need to look for leadership within the home. You need to look for it outside the home. So
But
start.
at what point is that, Aman, though? What if it
I think
happens at a younger age?
after you're legally an adult, after you're 18, you should already stop looking at your parents for leadership. Because if you are old enough to vote a government in, you're old enough to decide what color socks to wear and who to date, where to go, whether you want to go out for coffee or dinner or have wine or have freaking ruabza. You don't need to run everything by your parents, all right? You have the right to privacy, you have the right to autonomy, you have the right to make mistakes because you're legally an adult, even
But
legally.
how do you navigate that? That's my question. So, really, I think my big question here is, how do you navigate that? What is a conversation the youth can have with parents to say, not like, hey, now I'm an adult, and the response I've normally seen is, as long as you're living in my house, you go do it my way.
Well, here's the thing. Your parents are not the church. You don't need to go and tell them everything that's on your mind, on your life, going on in your life, because they may not have the emotional maturity or the emotional distance to be able to process it without adding their, chaat masala on it. Adding their own biases and adding, how could you do this without telling? Okay, why did you tell them? I'm not saying you should lie to your parents, but I'm also saying you shouldn't have to go and confess everything to them like you're going to. All right, make certain decisions, and then if they blow up in your face, then you have to be willing to accept what comes with it. What's the worst that'll happen? They'll kick you out of the house. You got to be willing to accept that too. See, there is no such thing as doing something without paying the price. You want to be free. You want the right to self determination. Then you're going to have to make some decisions autonomously. And it's important to have mentoring. I tell this to people. You can have a professional mentor, a business mentor. You can have a teacher who's a mentor, someone who has a good reputation for mentoring. Find them, identify them. They're just a Google search away. Okay. Um, and really try it, because a lot of people, a lot of children, a lot of the youth, they don't understand the difference between their own, gradients of what is right versus what is wrong. They're like, oh, but my mother says that it's wrong for me to date, but for me, I really like this girl, and for me, it feels very right. And since if I go home and tell my mother that I'm dating someone from another community, she's going to throw a fit and say, hi, main mar jawa, and turn into Nirupa Roy or whatever, or, sort of do full drama. So what do I do? So exactly, that's why people like us exist. We're here to objectively speak from both sides. We also understand your parents' generation, but we also understand you. uh, you know, because that's our job. It's our job to have an objective perspective and understand the human condition, understand attitudes, mindsets, biases, prejudices, conditioning. This is what we do. This is what we read. This is what we teach. This is what we understand. So I always say to the youth that going to a counselor is like going to a dentist. Right? If you have a problem, if there's a pain, he's going to go and see why the pain. Similarly, we're like psychological dentists. We're there to fill in the gaps, all right, and
Yeah.
and clean out the dirt. And
Yeah.
sometimes a lot of that dirt has been lodged there because of archaic things that your parents have forced you to believe in. And you say, "This is not me. This is what Dad has said, but so not who I am as a person." So who are you as a person? We help you discover that. We don't help you create that. You create it. We just help you find it and unravel, you know, that
Mm.
person.
It's really interesting because this notion of self-identity, who I am, my values, what I want to live by, is such a fundamentally important aspect of a human being, because your identity is not your name. It is, what you believe in, what you want to do, and how you conduct yourself, your value system, your behaviors, your
Hmm.
ability to just navigate your emotions and things like that. And so many times I ask people, what are your values? And they're like, oh, but they're not the values of my family. And I'm like, what are your values? And they're not able to
They don't
articulate.
know. They have no idea.
You know,
See, सब कुछ बेचा गया है आपको. Everything has been sold and peddled to you. Your family is like Amazon. They're constantly like, if you bought this, then you will like this. Constantly recommending values and lifestyles and habits that you should incorporate. And very often that clamps down on your individuality. Absolutely,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right.
So
So what?
coming back to, I think, just the youth and finding a sense of, by that, by that doesn't mean, rebelling, or it doesn't mean, disrespecting, like you rightly said earlier. It's about doing it in a manner which is still owns its respect towards, the parents and things like that, but still having the ability to exercise a sense of who I am. And I think today more and more, yeah, youth want to know that and are questioning that. So reaching out to a counselor, like you said, or you put yourself down as a mentor. You've talked about yourself as a mindset, coach, to young adults. So anyone above 18 can come out and reach out to you or to a
Absolutely,
counselor.
absolutely.
Is that how it works? So I mean, what are
Yeah,
the so and it is so, and anybody above 18, like you said, is an adult, and therefore an adult can access,
legally as well.
getting that kind of mentoring for themselves. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um, Including if they needed, more help, because that's another thing that we see, that when there is a real mental health, not when I say that, oh, this didn't happen, so I'm depressed, but a genuine depression or anxiety condition, there is that, because we are a mental health space, and you're a psychotherapist as well, that is something that is on the rise. And how can youth actually get the help they need for their mental health if there is a genuine mental health concern over and above the mentoring, and the counseling? Um, because I know one of my biggest struggles are to get parents to acknowledge that there might be the need for the child to get that help.
Yeah. True.
Is there anything that you would like to share about that? How can we, make that happen? Um, just your
So,
thoughts on that.
so see, in addition to seeing a therapist, well, you can identify resources online. So I do a lot of reading, and even when I was younger, I used to read a lot of articles and books on the subject of my interest, to sort of self upgrade my own understanding of the subject. Like there are so many books on dating, on finding yourself. There's some trashy books as well. All right. But it's important to, you can actually just, and a lot of books are very affordable. I think a lot of kids these days have a lot more money than, in the previous generations. A book, even a book for 200-300 bucks, that's the price of a coffee at Starbucks. So a good book can be a great companion. If you don't have the budget for a book, well, I assume you have a Wi-Fi connection. And if you don't have Wi-Fi, at least you have 3G or 4G. 5G is on the way as well. Well, you can read online, you can see videos, and I put up all my webinars on YouTube for free. Sometimes people will say, "Oh no, but we can't afford your fees." Oh no, ye wo. I said, "Okay, that's fine. Maybe you can gain something from some of my webinars, which are all for free." So I take the effort to archive it so that everyone has access to something that they can really pick up from. Maybe it's a 1 hour chat, but only 10 minutes are relevant to your life. So I think it's important to find people who you can trust. Even if they're people you don't know personally, maybe you can resonate with their opinions. Um, you know, um, Maybe what they say. So a lot of Jordan Peterson videos, like a lot of people come to me say, "Oh, we have seen Matthew Hussey, we have seen Jordan Peterson, we have watched Gary Vaynerchuk, we watch all these guys, and they're all saying some really interesting things. Or even better, if you don't know who to look for, go on the TED Talk uh, YouTube channel and just watch random videos of people you've never even heard of, and who knows, you may learn something very interesting. So the opportunity to learn and grow, it's all out there, really. It's all available to you. So, are you going to watch videos of squirrels attacking dogs, or are you going to watch videos of people really sharing the pains and triumphs of their life? The YouTube you access to is the same, and YouTube's pretty smart. Based on what you're watching, it will keep suggesting more content that is similar in nature. So you go down that self-help spiral, and it's a good spiral to go down because there's so much you can learn. So, I keep telling people, take charge of your life, man. Don't expect your parents and your families and your communities to come and rescue you, because no one gives a damn. No one gives a damn about you unless you're a golden goose laying golden eggs. All right. So if you're not a golden goose, you have zero leverage, you have zero priority, you have zero bargaining power, and it's a shitty position to be in. But it's a position a lot of us have been in. Unless you're making tons of money for someone, or you're disproportionately good looking, or really so intelligent that everyone wants to hire you and borrow from your mind. Unless these things are not working for you, guess what? Welcome to the club, where a club known as I am irrelevant. You're not relevant. That's a fact. You're not relevant unless you prove that you're relevant. You got to fight to prove your relevance. That's how it is in the world. No one's going to hire you because you're a nice guy. No one's going to marry you because you're sweet. They're going to marry you if you can provide and pay bills and give a good lifestyle to the person, man or woman. All right. So
Are you
you've
a
got
dad already? Because you're beginning to sound like the dads of today.
really.
Because I'm probably of the other thing that says you are relevant because you just are, and that you're
That's
you're
not about.
you're smart and
That's
you're
not about
intelligent and
relevance.
you're wanted and you're loved and you're cared for.
I don't think
Because
so.
you
I
are.
don't. I don't think it's a question of relevance. I think you are of value. These are two different
Yes.
things. You are of value because you're alive. So is a squirrel. It's a part of the ecosystem. So
But
you
I
and the
think it's
squirrel
so
are equal.
important that I am valuable because I am, and I
You
am
are
loved because
valuable,
I
but
am.
as far as relevance is concerned, you got to prove how relevant you are to an organization, to a family,
Oh yeah.
to a system of functioning. That's what I meant by relevance. Don't get me
Okay.
wrong. All right, you are valuable, but your relevance is always indexed to an end goal,
Mm.
and value has no end goal. Value is value. Value is value for value's sake. A tissue box has value. A cup has value. All right, a plant has value. A human being has value. Everything has value. Value is unconditional.
So
All right.
before we actually go on to closing our talk today, so I just want to really, really thank you because I think that the question of worth and value is so important for us as youth and individuals
Absolutely.
to understand. So before we close, Dr. Raman, can you really give us a parting thought on this question of value and worth? Because I think that as human beings and as youth and as just
Certainly.
individuals, we always question, that if I'm not, doing well, I'm not valuable and I'm not worthy. And how do you kind of break that off and say, you're still
Certainly.
valuable and worthy, but, there is elements to it, which are, like you rightly said, is more about, the passage of life that you contribute to.
I believe everyone has value. I think everyone has a role and a contributing role in this big machine called life. The way I see it, there are many moving pieces, and you are one of them. So the choices you make, the roads you take, and the decisions you make are going to define your trajectory, but at the same time, your journey is also going to touch many other journeys. So by that definition, you have value. All right. Don't believe everything everyone tells you. I tell this to everyone. I say, believe it only if it speaks to you. Don't even believe what I'm saying. I tell this to people. I'm not arrogant about my opinions. It's a perspective. I'm one guy. I'll die one day. So will you. Everyone dies. And remember that. We're all indexed to this one thing called death, the ultimate, flattener of the curve. All right. So you have value because you're alive and because you have a role to fulfill that even you may not be fully aware of. When I speak about relevance, it's about how well do you understand the many functions that you have to be a part of, because you have to be functional as an adult, you have to be functional as an employee, you have to be functional, right, in order to feed yourself, in order to afford health care, in order to be able to take care of your body and take care of people whose lives are connected to yours. And in that role, as I said, relevance is indexed to an end goal. So don't say, I'm relevant, I'm relevant. No, no, you are defined by your deeds and your choices. And by that, we will attain your relevance. As far as value is concerned, it's a very unconditional thing. It's important for you to remember that just because you screwed up academically, or just because you didn't get the best job, or just because you got lost in love, that doesn't mean you don't have value. That just means that you made a few mistakes, or you got, you were cheated, or maybe you were fooled. And let's face it, all of us have been there. None of us can say, I've never been cheated, or I've never felt pain, or I've never been betrayed. We've all been betrayed either by a circumstance or by people who we expected more from. So never, ever, ever feel like you're alone, right? Even those of us, the so-called experts, Nyana with her books behind me with my chashmas, we have all been hurt. We have all been completely destroyed, and we have had to, like jigsaw puzzles, bring ourselves together. I know I have. All
Me too.
right. And that is where we come from. We come from a place of understanding, clarity, compassion. So even if we're saying you are irrelevant, God damn it, it doesn't mean that you have no value. It means that you get to choose who you become and what you do. It means you have to create a life independent from the life you've been given by your family, by your last name, by your parents, because they're going to leave before you, man. That's just the truth of the world. They're going to leave, and after they're gone, if you want to continue and you want to be that person, you want to be that parent, that leader, that mentor, you're going to have to figure out what it is that you stand for, what it is that you love, and what is it that you want as your legacy, because we're all going to go. So please be sensitive to not just what you need, but also to what other people in the environment may need from you. It's about striking that balance between your dreams versus what you can supply to the environment. So very often people say, I don't believe in myself. I don't believe in myself. I've accomplished nothing. I don't believe in myself. My family doesn't believe in me. I say, all right, forget about yourself. Forget about your family. Believe in certain values that you hold close. That's enough. Like for me, my three most important values are generosity, integrity, creativity. I believe in these three things. If I have something to give, I'll give it. Generosity. Integrity. If I do something, I'll do it bloody well. No half-assed work. And creativity. If there is a new way to do something, I will find how to do it. I may not have the solution. I'm not going to say I have all the solutions, but I'll say I'll bloody well find the new, that creative, that little inroad. I will find the ulta way of doing it, but I'll find it. These are my values. So every time I have self-doubt, personally, I'm sharing my own thing. I say, okay, am I being innovative? Am I showing integrity? Am I showing creativity? And am I sharing? Am I giving? Am I being generous enough with the pursuits that I may get good feedback and I may grow? So what are your values? Have three values, not more. Okay, don't have to have
So I
25
think
values. Don't have to paint the entire world.
with that, Dr. Aman, I think we will close because I know Instagram's going to kick us out in less than a minute.
Oh no,
Yes,
we're
it
kicked
shuts
out.
down. So, with that, passing on, thank you so much for joining us today, because I think what you said is very close to my heart, and I think I'm going to replay that. Is that your needs are important? Find a balance between yours and others, but your needs are important.
Yes.
Your choices matter. Choose wisely, I suppose.
Yes.
And the third and most important thing is that you are valuable. And the most important thing is find your values, because that's when you find yourself. So with that, Dr. Aman, thank you so much again. Thank you everyone for watching. Gertrude, thank you so much, for everyone who joined us here today. And thank you, Aman, for really, really a wonderful, wonderful chat.
My pleasure.